So you're at home just staring at a never-ending to-do list that seems to be growing exponentially each day. And even though you're doing your best, you get to the end of each day feeling like you accomplished, well, nothing. You're stuck, you're scattered, and you're just plain exhausted. Yeah, that was me too. I was drowning in tasks, constantly overwhelmed, and I felt like I was completely losing it. My mind was this chaotic jumble of half-remembered ideas and looming deadlines, and there was always that constant little voice in the back of my head saying, "You're forgetting something." But then I read the book Getting Things Done by David Allen, who provided a simple 5-step method to do just that. With his guidance and the help of a few easy AI prompts, I managed to close all those mental tabs, clear out the chaos, and finally start making real progress. And today, I'm going to show you how I did it. The core principle of getting things done, or GTD for short, is brilliantly simple. Your mind is for having ideas, not for holding them. The whole point is to get every single task, idea, and promise out of your head and into a trusted system outside of yourself. This frees up all that mental energy so you can actually focus on doing the work, instead of trying to just remember what the work is. This isn't anything new. Starting with a brain dump is the initial step of just about every productivity tool out there. But it's the following system that makes all the difference. This method is broken down into 5 clear steps: capture, clarify, organize, reflect, and engage. It just made perfect sense. It was a structured way to fight back against the chaos. But as I read about it, I saw one big hurdle. It seemed to require a ton of manual sorting and discipline, especially right at the start. That was going to take some time, and spending a bunch of time making lists and sorting lists wasn't appealing to me. Then it hit me. What if I could use simple AI tools to do all the heavy lifting for me? To make this proven method faster, easier, and honestly, even more powerful. So I decided to combine the timeless wisdom of GTD with some very modern tech. The first step is to capture. This is all about creating a complete inventory of every single thing that has your attention. Nothing is too big or too small. We're talking finished quarterly report, call mom, buy bread, wild idea for new business, fix that squeaky door. The goal is to do what David Allen calls a mind sweep, getting every one of those open loops out of your brain and onto the page. By writing it all down, you finally let your brain off the hook from the exhausting job of remembering everything. Before, my capture system was a complete disaster. I had a sticky note here, a random note there, notes on my phone, an email flagged as important. It was a fragmented mess, which is exactly why things like a project deadline could end up falling through the cracks. So I sat down to do my first real mind sweep. But instead of writing a long, overwhelming list, I used AI to help. I opened up Gemini on my phone, clicked the microphone icon, and spoke this exact prompt. "Hi, Gemini." It never hurts to be nice to your AI. "You are a productivity assistant using the GTD method. I'm going to give you a brain dump of everything on my mind. Please help me organize these into clear, concise task items that I can capture in my to-do list. Format each as task name and brief description. Here's my brain dump." And then I just went for it, telling it everything I could possibly think of for about 15 minutes. Side note, if you don't keep talking, the app will start processing your information. But don't panic. It's fine to just click the pause button on its response, click the microphone again and say, "I need to add more to the list." Then continue speaking items into the app. Or if you already have a to-do list or prefer writing things down first, you can copy and paste your list or type it in to the prompt directly. The result was amazing. My chaotic, rambling thoughts were instantly transformed into a clean, structured list. All the mental friction of trying to make sense of the mess was gone. It wasn't a jumble anymore, it was an inventory. For the first time, I could see everything that had been weighing on me all in one place. It was the first real step toward taking back control. Once you've captured everything, you hit step 2, clarify. This is where you go through what you've captured and decide what each thing actually is. For every item on your list, you ask yourself a couple of simple questions. Is this actionable? If it is, what's the very next physical action I need to take? And if it requires more than one action, then it's not a task, it's a project. This is where the magic really starts to happen because it kills the ambiguity. Planned birthday party is a vague, intimidating blob on your list. But email friends to find a date for the party, well, that's a clear single action you can do right now. If you have an item that isn't actionable, you have 3 choices. Trash it, file it away for reference later, or put it in a someday maybe list. My old habit was to just stare at my big vague list and feel paralyzed. Clean out the basement would haunt my to-do list for weeks because it just felt too big to even start. This is where AI became my secret weapon. I copied that nice list that AI made for me in the capture step, opened up a new chat with Gemini, and entered this prompt. Using the GTD method, please analyze these tasks and clarify them for me. For each item, determine, is it actionable, yes or no? If yes, what is the next clear action? If it is a single action or a project that requires multiple actions. If it's not actionable, categorize it as trash, reference, or someday maybe. Here are the tasks to clarify. And then I pasted the list from the previous step. This was huge. The AI acted like a ruthless productivity coach. It forced everything that was vague into a concrete next step. Clean out the basement was labeled as a project, and the next action was defined as set a timer for 15 minutes and remove any obvious trash. Suddenly, I didn't have to think about the whole basement. I had one small, manageable thing to do, and only for 15 minutes. This step alone just dissolved so much anxiety and procrastination that I was feeling. It was amazing. Before I move on to the next step, if you're finding this helpful, click that like button. Step 3 is organize. This is where you put everything in its proper place. Once you've clarified your items, you need a system to hold them so that you can actually trust that nothing will be forgotten. GTD uses a few key lists: a calendar for anything with a hard date, a projects list for your multi-step goals, and a next actions list for all the single tasks you need to get done. You also have lists for things you're waiting on from other people, the waiting for list, and that someday maybe list for cool ideas you aren't ready to commit to yet. My old organization was a single terrifying to-do list where buy bread had the same visual importance as start that new project at work. It was impossible to prioritize because everything was just screaming for attention at once. By using AI, this step became almost automatic. I took the clarified list from step 2 and used one last organizational prompt. I have the following clarified tasks and projects. Please help me organize them using the GTD system. Categorize each into one of these lists: next actions, calendar, if a date is mentioned, projects, waiting for, or someday maybe. Format the output as organized lists ready to input into my task management tool. In seconds, the AI sorted my entire brain dump into a perfectly structured GTD system. I had a clean list of projects, a separate list of all the immediate actions I could take, and my someday ideas were tucked safely away, not cluttering up my brain. I could then literally copy and paste these into my to-do list app with all the categories pre-built. It was like hiring a personal assistant to clean up the mess in my head. Now, the first 3 steps are about setting up your system. Step 4, reflect, is about keeping it alive. This is really the most important step for making this process last. David Allen calls for a weekly review where you set aside time once a week to look over all your lists, update your progress, check on your projects, and just make sure your system is clean and current. This regular check-in is what builds trust. It reassures your brain that everything is accounted for, which allows you to stay focused and present during the week. I used to hate planning. The thought of reviewing my giant, messy to-do list just filled me with dread. It was just a weekly reminder of everything I hadn't done yet. But with a clean, organized system, the weekly review actually became empowering. And you guessed it, I learned AI to make it faster and even more insightful. During my weekly review, I export my current task lists and use a prompt like this. I'm doing my weekly GTD review. Please help me analyze my current projects and next actions. Identify any projects that have no next action assigned. Flag any waiting for items that are older than 1 week so I can follow up. Suggest 1 to 2 items from my someday maybe list that might align with my current active projects. Here's my current list, and then I paste the list. This prompt turns a chore into a strategic planning session. The AI acts as a second pair of eyes, catching things that I might miss. It points out stalled projects and helps me keep the momentum going. This makes sure my system never gets stale or cluttered. The final step is engage. This is where you just do the thing. With a clear, trusted system in place, choosing what to work on becomes so much easier. The GTD model helps you decide what to do at any given moment based on 4 criteria: context, where you are and what tools you have, time available, energy available, and priority. Before, I would just work on whatever felt like it was most on fire, or whatever was shouting the loudest in my brain. I'd try to do high-energy creative work late at night when I was totally fried, and then waste my best morning hours on mindless administrative tasks like checking email. Now, when I have a block of time, I use my organized lists and this 4-part model to make a smart choice. And when I'm feeling especially indecisive, I can even use a quick AI prompt to help me get going. For example, I might use a prompt like this. I have 1 hour before my next meeting. I'm at my computer and my energy level is high. Based on my priority projects, which are Project X and Project Y, which tasks from my next actions list would be the best use of my time? Here's the list, and I paste my next actions. The AI can quickly apply the model and suggest the most logical task, which totally eliminates decision fatigue. It helps me to stop overthinking and just start. This is where all the setup pays off in focused, effective, and stress-free work. The difference in my list before and after the system is night and day. I am no longer that person who constantly is overwhelmed, dropping the ball, and living with a permanent cloud of anxiety hanging over my head. That feeling of 100 tabs open, it's gone. My brain feels quiet. I trust the system to hold everything so that I don't have to. When I'm in a meeting, I'm actually in the meeting. When I'm with my family, I'm not mentally scrolling through my to-do list. I'm getting more meaningful work done, not because I'm working more, but because the hours I do work are focused and effective. My projects move forward consistently, and I actually have the mental space to be creative again. I've gone from feeling like the victim of my to-do list to feeling like the architect of my life. With GTD and a few simple AI prompts, you don't have to live with a brain full of open tabs. You can take back control, quiet your mind, and finally focus on what really matters. So what's the one open tab in your brain that you're going to close first after watching this? Let me know in the comments below. I'd genuinely love to hear about it. And if you want to learn more about the GTD method, I recommend this video.